So, hey guys, I am Becky back with another video utilizing the AOScan software for issues with histamine. That's what we're going to be talking about today. There is a lot of people who have issues with histamine. There's a lot of histamine showing up on people's scans. It's kind of going hand in hand with all the elevated cortisol that I'm seeing lately, as well as increase in oxalates. So, some of the things that histamine can play a role in is how your brain functions, obviously, gut and digestion, and then the immune system. So, what are some of the things that I would typically look for in the vitals report? So, obviously, a lot of categories that are going to be in the dairy. So, people who have done a lot of my online curriculum or have done mentorship with me, you always hear me talk about how we need to look at things in groups and pairs. And what I mean by that is if we look at this category here of dairy, there are quite a few markers over here. Okay, so I'm not really concerned about each individual marker because one item doesn't really give me a lot of information. But looking at this whole entire grouping here, even though it did optimize, this is something that I would keep an eye on. There's definitely something going on with dairy, and there is a lot of histamine in a lot of dairy products. So histamine rich foods would be a reason for histamine overproduction. Other things that we would want to look at are like environmental allergies, which is where you're going to see the IgE. So if you remember down here in your vital scan, let me see if I can find it. Another area to look at is going to be your IgGs, IgA. So here in the immune system, you're looking for IgE. Okay, that's going to be a sign. So this is actually a double red 9, which is going to indicate there's most likely an issue there. IgG is going to be in the gut. IgE is going to be like environmental allergies or even mast cell. Some of the other areas we want to look at are going to be estrogen dominance. So that's where you want to look at your hormones, which I think I already went past them. And then we definitely want to look at mold exposure, which we have here in this category. So there's quite a few markers showing up in the mold exposure. Obviously, the leaky gut, so all of the gut and digestion. So if you just come back up here into digestion, wherever it is, you would want to see how many markers are showing up in the gut and digestive. So even here, digestive acids and enzymes, I know this person probably has some gut issues going on. And then when we come up to digestive function, we definitely know that enzymes and stomach acid are going to be part of that equation. So while there's not a boatload of markers here, we definitely know that stomach acid and enzymes, which are two of the 5 pillars of digestion, are going to be problematic. We also want to look at SIBO. So typically when you come down into the bacteria, you're going to see, let's see, where did I just go past it? Bacteria. Oh, this might have been a, nope, I did it. So look, we're going to look for strep. So strep group A was a 2. So strep is usually going to signify SIBO when you see that on the scanner. And then we have estrogen dominance. Some other things that we can look at is magnesium. So histamine intolerance is a sign of a magnesium deficiency. So then we're going to come back up into the vitamins and the minerals. Again, all of these markers are not all inclusive. These are just some of the things that you want to pay attention to. So let's see. Manganese, but not magnesium. Yep, magnesium's right here. So there probably is a magnesium deficiency, which is telling us that there is some issues with histamine. Some of the other areas that you can look at would be copper and then B6. So copper would be here, which looks to be okay for right now, and then B6, which is needed for methylation, along with 9 and 12. So those are some of the things that you can look at. We also need to look at stress, adrenals, and cortisol because that feeds into the equation of histamine. So that's where you can go down and look at what the adrenals are doing and the vagus is doing. And here you can see right here, cortisol is a 9. So stress is definitely driving this whole entire process. Sometimes I also see issues with oxalates, which kind of go hand in hand with histamine and a sulfur reaction. So it takes some detective work to try to figure out which is which. Let's see what else. And then typically with the oxalates, you're going to see quite a few markers in the kidney function. Sometimes I see uric acid coming up. I think the scanner is pointing to uric acid when it's actually an oxalate issue, because we don't have an oxalate marker unless you go into the database. So that's something else to think about. Some other things to look at would be like your fungal infections and candida. So that's where you get down into the yeast and the fungus. And again, candida is showing up here. But when you think about why there's candida, yeast, and fungus, you have to think about food sitting in the gut and fermenting. So why is that happening? Well, because there's not enough stomach acid and digestive enzymes to push the food through fast enough. So it goes back to building those 5 pillars of digestion. Some of the other markers that you might see would be having a B1 deficiency. So let's see, go up to the B vitamins here. No, it's all the way up here at the top. So we've got B1, which seems to be okay, but that would be a marker that I would pay attention to. So having a B1 deficiency can factor into this. Your B1 is going to convert carbs to energy and also helps with the digestion of fats and proteins and is needed for the proper release of HCl, which came up earlier. So 600 milligrams a day can help with this. There's also correlations between estrogen and histamine, sulfur and histamine, which I'm not going to get into because that's literally an hour-long presentation. But if you'd like to learn more, you can learn all about this and how to manage it in my AO Scan Level 200 course. It goes through the solutions, what to look for on the scan. It actually gives you potential Sephi playlists that you can use, acupuncture points to place the frequency dots, and specific homeopathy, which can be phosphorus, histaminum, apis, nux vom, which we do have them. Some other markers are going to be, like I said, histamine. And then sometimes I see homocysteine come up too. Homocysteine has to do with how your liver is methylating and will also affect the arteries and the heart. Actually forget which category. So in inflammation oxidation, you might see homocysteine or histamine. So while it does look like histamine might be problematic, it's sitting here as an 8 optimized to a 7. We definitely are seeing quite a few other markers that are feeding into that. You can also look at all of the different B vitamins. And if you're seeing, quite a few B vitamins coming up, you might want to start thinking about the liver and methylation and detoxification. Also, vitamin D will feed into that, and then zinc and copper, which has been a huge issue since the famous virus that's not really a virus has been floating around. We already talked about magnesium, homocysteine. You can also check for basophils, which is going to be up here in the CBC. Basophils are mast cell. Okay. And right here, so basophils actually looks like it's okay. But again, you don't have to have every one of these markers. These are just some of the things. These are what I call the chess players. And sometimes those chess players will kind of move in and out, but the theme is still the same. So that's what you're looking for: themes, trends, patterns. You don't necessarily want to look at one item off of one scan. Estrogen is another thing. We all know about estrogen dominance when the liver isn't able to detox fast enough. That's all. It just tells it that there's tons of inflammation in the liver and the liver is just getting overburdened and can't do anymore. And then we also have molybdenum. That would be another marker to look at. So if we were coming into some of the homeopathy, we could come into Sephi, go into homeopathics. Here we have homeopathics, and we've got histaminum, which actually works pretty well. So right here, you could just simply play that frequency if you wanted to, or you can make a frequency playlist, come back in the Sephi, click custom playlist, you would hit the plus arrow, maybe you would do a histamine playlist, and then you could add the homeopathics of histaminum, apis, right here, Nux bomb, and then phosphorus. So that is one of the things that you could do with the AO scan. From a Sephi standpoint, I would also come into body systems, hit deselect all, and just do the gut, because we know DAO has to do with histamine in the gut. And then I would do the endocrine system, and then I would also do hormones, and then the nervous system. That would tie all of that together. So hopefully that helps. I know it's a crash course on something that I could spend literally an hour teaching. But a lot of this information is what I teach in a lot of my online education. I do have a bioenergetic practitioner certification that will cover all of this and help you to be able to connect the dots in a very simple way. So hopefully this video has helped, and I will be back with some more. So thanks.